Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And this is a podcast. This is a podcast specifically designed to help us engage in the process of rethinking our inner city spaces. Meg.
Yeah, so we have lived here for 20 years. And
We're going on our 20th year.
Thank you. 19 years in like this month. Which is exciting. So I feel like we don't always say that. Like this is a podcast about social justice, and we just are letting you guys all know what we have learned, because when we first moved in here, we didn't know anything about inner city spaces, and our point of view has changed so much, and so that's why we do this podcast.
Yeah, and Meg, when I think about the neighborhood, our neighborhood, neighborhoods like ours, we went out. We didn't do a podcast for a little while. We kind of batched a couple, and then we just had a lot going on, so we didn't do one because we're traveling.
Yeah,
Meg, I feel like we do these, and then we mention that we are traveling, and it seems like we're always traveling.
Yeah.
I feel like you actually have been traveling a lot.
Well, I mean, we went somewhere in March, and we went somewhere in April, and I do.
That's a lot.
I go with my girlfriends in February too, and then in January too. So maybe I travel a little bit. Then I go with Dex in October, so maybe I travel a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting because we went out to the West Coast.
Oh, Pacific Northwest.
Went to go visit my sister who lives north of Seattle, right by Canada. I ran, Meg, to Canada.
That's cool.
And then I turned around and went back. It wasn't like that far, but I did it. It was like 2.5 miles there and 2.5h miles back, something like that.
That's neat.
Yeah, it was great. I saw it.
Yeah. Saw it, touched it.
I didn't actually touch it.
That's disappointing.
Well, I had to go to the bathroom, and there was like a nature preserve here, so whatever. Yeah. But we were down in we went to go visit my sister, and then we went to Seattle, or Dex and I went to Seattle to go see Phish. Meg, that was the first time been to right around 150 Phish concerts.
Wow.
And it was the first time I ever took an airplane to go to one.
Wow.
So my friend John was intrigued by that.
Sure.
And I almost didn't want to take an airplane to one because I hadn't before.
Yeah. You're not a big airplane flyer. It was funny because I went out previously. I had a conference out in Vancouver, which, wow, that is a beautiful city. And so you took the kids flying, like you took them afterwards, after I was already out there, and you did not know how to fly.
I know.
You didn't know like what you could pack. You didn't bring a toothbrush because you didn't know.
Well, I didn't bring my electric toothbrush.
Yeah, but then you couldn't find a toothbrush.
I thought I had a Dex didn't have a toothbrush, but I had a toothbrush. Okay. And we got him a toothbrush.
Okay, I just thought it was funny that you didn't know. You just didn't know. You do not fly a lot, and
yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I don't need to be jet setting around the world. I got enough going on right here. I like being around here. I like being in the neighborhood.
It is nice, yes.
But it was nice. Saw my sister. Went to Seattle.
Yeah.
And then we drove to Portland. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we were out in Seattle. Probably it was over 20 years ago.
Yeah. And
I remember seeing that the homeless population in Seattle, and I don't. This is where I'm always so bad at this. Meg, this is one of the things that I think is different about me compared, and maybe you, compared to other people that are into social justice or doing things that help steer the course of the world to being more socially just, is I'm either just really bad at saying the right thing or name.
Yeah.
In part because I don't know that it doesn't matter a lot to me. And so I say things like homeless, and I think the right way is to say it is unhoused.
Unhoused, yeah.
Whatever. I don't know these things.
Yeah.
And I just want to make the point that you can care a lot about the world and not use the right lingo. It's still okay. You'll be okay.
Sure,
it doesn't mean that you're a terrible person.
We would love a listener to reach out and tell us what is the right way, because I feel like I'd love a study on that, or I'd love some reading on that.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay, I will learn all about it, and I will let you know what you're supposed to say.
That's fine. Still, I'll struggle with it.
Yeah.
But I think, and this isn't the point.
You don't like change with words, I'm going to say.
I think that words are very important. But I also think that what you get off your ass and do is really important. And so I care about that way more than saying the right thing. But so with all of that being said, we then left Seattle and went to Portland, and we stayed downtown in Portland.
Yeah.
And downtown Portland has a large homeless population. Which is the homeless population there, the way that they have organized themselves, appears to be very different than the homeless population in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
When we were probably like right when we first met, or even before you and I met, I spent not randomly, but I've always liked talking to homeless people. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
And I like just having, this is going to be surprising to you, Meg, but I like having conversations with people.
Yeah,
but in particular, I like having conversations with people that are different than me.
Yeah.
And so I don't find myself in a homeless situation. But I always have thought, a certain number of things in my life could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
To the point where I would find myself
I could almost
homeless.
see you like in college being like, I'm gonna be homeless.
Yes.
I could have seen that. I
yes,
feel like
and I think
you would have liked to like I feel like not that you would have liked to experience that, but you would have like put yourself out there and you would have just been okay with it and rolled with it.
I would have been fine with it. Yes.
Yeah.
I also would have liked to ridden the rails on a train.
Okay, that's different.
Like traveled like jumped into a boxcar and lived in a boxcar on a train.
You would have liked to be the boxcar children. Got it. Okay.
Would have loved that.
There's still time.
Yes. Meg, I have something to tell you. I will be living on a boxcar from now on. Take care of the 7 houses that we own. I am choosing to not live in one of them. But so I have been just I like to see what is going on in places in terms of their homeless population.
Yeah.
And the homeless population in Portland, there are many of them,
Yeah.
And these kind of just hanging out.
Well, like
in downtown.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting because it seems like in Milwaukee we have tent city, or
Sure.
they're like a lot of people like kind of organize themselves together. And in Portland, it was like people just kind of popped up a tent on the sidewalk, and
right.
I thought, wow, that's.
Which I know you'll see that in Chicago, and but you don't see that a lot. I don't. I could be ignorant to this, but I do go downtown. Pretty much every day on a run, and I don't see a lot of that. So I just thought, oh well, that was piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, that's a different way.
Yeah.
That this group of people has decided to go about their days, but I didn't start this episode wanting to talk about that, but I think, Meg, when we have this podcast, since you were telling people about the podcast, these are the types of conversations that you and I have at night when we sit around. Yeah. Is just, I noticed this about this, particularly about things that we particularly find interesting about the neighborhood or an interaction that we had.
Yeah.
And Meg, I'm going to tell you one that came from today because it makes me wonder about something, and I'll get to that in a minute. And so we're at track, and man, I hope nobody from track is listening, and we all think it's all the coaches at track think this is hilarious, but and I'm not gonna call anybody out at the track meet, but the people that run track, they will spend a fair amount of time telling us all the things that we're doing wrong.
Okay.
So, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that in a nice way. And so one of the things that we were doing wrong was that kids were arriving to the track meet too early. All of the literature that has been put out says kids should arrive an hour before the track meet starts. Whatever. It's fine. They no longer want us to do that. They want them to come at 8:30, which is fine.
They want all the kids to come at 8:30?
Well, no earlier than 8:30.
Okay.
Which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. I don't really care. We'll send it on the Remind app.
Sure.
Parents can bring their kids at 8:30 instead of at 8 o'clock. And I think we've been telling them come at 8:30 because there's no reason to be there at 8. because nothing is going on. You're just going to sit there.
Yeah.
And as a parent of a child that's in a sport, I don't want to get there before I have to get there.
No, especially if it's cold in the morning.
Yeah, and on a Saturday, why would I want to be there?
Yeah.
But something interesting happened. So, many of the coaches are nodding along, like, oh yeah, okay, we'll tell them that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the coaches pipes up and says, "But I drive half my team to the meet."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I actually saw you unload a car load of kids and walk in with them."
Yeah, yeah.
And I had to stop for a second because I was like, what an interesting predicament.
Yeah.
Not a predicament, but it made me think about the fact that I don't have to drive my team to the track meet. I'm very thankful because I got to get up super early to get over there.
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't the case.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that because one of the kids in our neighborhood, she didn't have a ride to the track meet, so she didn't go.
Right.
And so I told her brother, let me know. I'm going there. I don't mind picking her up, but I think it's interesting that you're noticing that because a lot of times we don't notice that. We don't even think about that. Okay, a parent might not be able to even come because it might be a bus ride away and they might live over here. And Vincent, I can't imagine how long of a bus ride is if it's a 25-minute drive.
Yeah, it would be far.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of buses. I think it's a lot of buses.
Yeah.
And so it made me think about the value because in that group of coaches, we did an episode a couple of weeks ago about what was it, like the pretty girl in high school? Remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we're track and cross country is on our mind, and so just to kind of give a listener like a little bit of perspective. So this track meet pulls middle schools from all around the city. There are 40 track teams.
Really?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
40 track teams. And it's probably 33 different schools.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to guess like 33 different schools. A couple of schools are big enough to have 2 track teams.
Ah, got it.
So, we're there with a lot of the middle schools in the city of Milwaukee. And so, in the city of Milwaukee, there is schools that have enough kids that need rides that the coaches provide the majority of the rides for the kids.
Yeah.
And there are also schools that have gear.
Yeah.
Like legitimate gear.
And it's so funny because our kids are like, oh, they're the rich school. Like our kids are so mad at these kids for like having a jersey with their name on the back or having a sweatshirt, like that's for their school.
Right.
And I just find it to be really funny because I'm like, kids, you go to a good school, like,
sure.
We don't spend our money on gear, but you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. And so there's a spectrum of parents. There's parents that don't have reliable transportation or, whatever's going on that they can't take them.
Yeah.
Legitimate reasons why they physically cannot transport their kid from where they live to, 20 minutes away to the track meet.
Yeah.
Then there's, parents that, people bought the gear. The gear doesn't come from the school. The school didn't the school's budget did not pay for the gear.
Yeah.
So the school itself has literally the same per student budget as every other school has. So like the kids at our school, they get a chunk of money, and the kids that go to the school with the gear, they get the same chunk of money per kid. It's the same, right? So parents or someone else, somebody else said, we want gear, we're going to buy gear, nice gear.
Yeah.
And that was the expectation for that place, right? Like we want our track or cross country teams to have matching sweatshirts and running pants and whatever else, whatever gear. Nice stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
I was even like, kind of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that. But something interesting happens when, in the way that we have organized ourselves, in I don't think it's just in Milwaukee,
Mm-hmm.
because when I was in Portland, I went for a run,
Mm-hmm.
and I ran downtown, and I ran past, I'm not lying, 100 homeless people.
Seriously?
Like 100.
Wow. Okay.
Just on my run.
Wow.
And I ran, the first day I ran to where so we went to Portland to go to another concert.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we were in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran to where the concert was the night
Yeah.
before, and then I ran back to the hotel. Then the next day, I didn't want to go that same way, so I went a different direction. I kind of got lost a little bit. I like to in a city. I kind of like to like not pay attention and then see if I can find my way back.
That's so interesting.
I don't know what else are you doing. You're running for a half an hour or 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Might as well.
yeah.
So I ran into the part of Portland that does not have homeless people. It is on hills that overlooks the city.
Oh wow.
Beautiful houses.
Yeah.
It would not be a good place for somebody that didn't have a home to hang out.
Yeah,
There's like nothing over there except
Okay.
really nice houses, lots of like BMWs and Range Rovers and stuff. Nice.
Yeah.
And I ran there,
Mm-hmm.
and then I like I said, I got a little lost.
Sure.
But I made my way back, and I got
yeah.
back to the hotel. So, in that part of, somewhere someone said that part of the city is more valuable.
Yeah.
It was cooler, honestly, so I could see why it was appealing to people.
Yeah.
But that group of people organized themselves. That group of people with similar means organized themselves in this part of the city.
Okay.
And then the homeless population that has similar means organized themselves in a different part of the city.
Yeah.
And, we do that in Milwaukee. There are neighborhoods where the median household income is like ours, I think it's up to $26,000 a year. And then there's parts of the city where the median household income is $120,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different,
Yeah.
right? Lots of margin there. And what happens when we separate ourselves is we don't have the correct perspective on what life might be like if you are in the 26,000 range or the 126,000 range.
Can I tell a story?
Sure.
Okay, so a big shout out. A lot of the listeners. So I put out on my Instagram that I knew a woman who was going through a very hard time, and she just needed some stuff to get, she needed plates, she needed forks, she needed,
basically starting over.
Yeah, starting over. And so I went so thank you if you purchase stuff for her. Really thank you. So I went over there yesterday, and I walked into her apartment, and there was nothing. And, she texted me like, yeah, I'll take anything. I don't have anything. And, I was kind of, I was talking to Dex about it this morning when we were driving to track. And, I was like, you think somebody's like, they say nothing. You think they have some stuff, and there was, I walked in and there was a bike for the 10-year-old and nothing else, and, and so I and Dex was so funny. He's like, do the kids have beds? And I was like, I'm going to be honest. I was holding on to like, I could not even ask that question. I was struggling because
probably not.
And I didn't want to know the answer because it was too hard. And so it was very hard. So I even I journaled about it today. Because I love this woman. She's really trying, and she just keeps getting handed really bad cards. And I was journaling, just, kind of getting out some of my feelings, and, just saying, journaling about how this was really hard to see. And
a lot harder to live.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's why you journal, because you're,
sure.
you're talking about your own feelings.
I'm not shaming you.
Yeah. But I'm like, I feel like my life is better knowing that this exists in people's lives. And, I feel like when we get to see those glimpses of how other people live, we're able to give more. We're able to organize ourselves so that this types of thing doesn't happen. We're able to make changes in our own life so that this person's life's a little bit easier. And, I was I thought it was wonderful that I was able to see how I'm thankful for being able to see how hard this woman's life is, and how, again, I came home last night, and kind of told you about it, and you were like, all right, like, how do we, like, you're going to figure out how to help her get furniture. And, so, like, I feel like, again, I'm thankful that I have people in my life that can show me these differences, so that I don't go out and buy stupid stuff, so that I don't go out and, make dumb decisions, and so that I can try to organize, so that this kind of stuff I can organize at least myself, so that I can, try to make the world a little bit better, however I can.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when I hit record on this, I'm a pretty firm believer that the level of concentration of poverty here is not good.
Yeah.
It adds exponentially to the problems, because poverty, by definition, in some ways could be a lack of resources. You lack the resources needed to do a lot of things, sometimes survive.
Yeah.
And if all of the people with the lack of resources are in a lot of ways funneled into one neighborhood, how is that group of people ever supposed to rise above that?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But how would we ever expect anything to change if the concentration doesn't change? And Meg, house prices are crazy.
Yeah.
But I still haven't seen people buying houses over here. People that didn't currently or haven't already lived here that want to actually live here.
Yeah.
And I don't know there's all sorts of people are always scared about gentrification and all these things. I don't know what the right answer is, but I can tell you that the level of concentration is too much. It is too much to expect that things will ever get better. And it's somewhat silly, because when they get better, then the levels of poverty will change. Like, there'll be less.
Yeah. Well, and I always think, like, that's something that we're gonna, maybe you said this before, but I always think this, but that we're gonna look back and say, okay, all the poor people lived in this one community. Like, that's not right. So, like, how does it change?
And I don't really want to get into the entire backstory of the lady that you were talking about, but Meg, when you moved to college, what did you bring with you to college?
Yeah, not much.
Yes, and then did you?
I mean, well, I had a computer, so
great.
Yeah.
And
an iPod.
And when you moved into your first apartment, or your first apartment,
more stuff. Yeah.
Where did that stuff come from?
I mean, yeah, it probably came from my parents.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know this lady's parents.
Yeah.
And I'm not comfortable saying on the podcast some of the things that I know about her parents.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, they are not stocking her fridge.
No.
They are not they are not buying, they're not helping the situation.
Correct.
It's not going to happen. It's not physically possible for it to happen. And so, you had, and I mean, you have great parents. They're fantastic human beings.
Yeah.
And they'll do anything for you and have the ability to do a lot for you.
Yeah.
But this person doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And you can say it's not fair or it's not right or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter if it's right or fair or whatever. She doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything out of her that makes me think that she shouldn't have had that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She did nothing in her life to make it, to make her undeserving of having that.
Exactly.
It was just the luck of the draw that she had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
she was raised in 5 through 206. I mean, like, it's.
That didn't help.
Yeah.
That didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting how, just sort of as a very small case study for this, she's reaching out to you, a person with means,
mm-hmm.
and you're able to organize other people with means.
Yeah.
You didn't, maybe you bought, I don't know if you did or not. I didn't even ask you, but I don't think you were you didn't just go out and drain your bank account to buy her. You coordinated with other people to help provide a little bit of a safety net for her, which I think is kind of one of the things. We don't have time to go on a whole religious tangent,
mm-hmm.
but it's one of the things that I think that's what we're supposed to be doing. I think that we're supposed to be uplifting people. We're supposed to be making the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what your religious background is. I think that's the fundamental belief of all of these religious backgrounds is that you find things in the world that you don't think are right,
mm-hmm.
and you do something about it. And when we are so separate, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because, if I'm the school with gear,
mm-hmm.
and they're great people. We've already
established
they're great people.
Yeah.
But I could see a scenario where if I'm the school with gear and I see kids that are coming from the school that the coach drives them
mm-hmm.
to and they're there early, I could in my head immediately think, what the fuck are they doing? They're supposed to be here at 8:30.
Yeah.
And I might not think, wow, that is incredible that their coach will go pick them up.
Yeah.
And I am so thankful that I'm able to drive my own kids to here,
mm-hmm.
and that if we don't, the only reason why we don't have perspective sometimes, or a lot of the times, is because we haven't set ourselves up to live a life to have perspective.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself in that situation and you're like, I'd like to have more perspective, think about what you want more perspective on and go look around.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's, I feel like I love the quote from Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers.
Oh.
Go find somebody who's already helping and help them.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is.
Yeah. I like that, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. He's a badass. He really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little podcast plug for that. Mr. Rogers, they had
Finding Fred or
Finding
something like
Fred podcast. Really good. I re-listened to it like a year ago now, but it was so good again.
Yeah, he had that whole neighborhood going.
Oh, he was good. He was real good. He was good, yeah.
It was so much better than Daniel Tiger. Remember Daniel Tiger?
Oh my gosh, it's like the same thing. You know that Daniel
I know.
Tiger
I'm
is
saying
based off
that's
of.
what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. But I mean,
that Tiger was always crying about something.
No, I feel like you're thinking of Caillou.
Oh yeah, maybe I am.
Oh, Caillou, that was the worst.
You're right. You're right. That's the bald kid.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right. Yes,
was
you're right. I am.
crying.
You're right. You've proved me wrong. I am pro Daniel Tiger.
Yeah.
Not a fan of Caillou.
Daniel Tiger. It's like the same principles.
Oh, okay.
As Mr. Rogers. It's like the same show, but it's a
But it's a
cartoon.
tiger?
Yeah.
Is a tiger Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Oh.
Wow.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, I love Daniel Tiger. I feel like I would play it all the time, especially for Dex.
Yeah, he liked it.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.